In the workshop, a Diabolical model steam engine part 11. After a few hours work, the engine finally runs, but not very well, as the slide valve is blowing. In this episode, I show why this is happening and how to cure the problem. The running is much improved after this fix. You can hear a constant hiss when the engine is running because most of the air going into the steam chest immediately exits via the exhaust port. I need to have a look at this situation and fix it. I'm removing the steam chest cover, which was originally held in place by 2 nuts and 4 bolts. The steam chest cover was quite loose and easy to remove. Here I'm checking the valve timing to start with, and I can see that it's slightly out. I'm not surprised. The hole in the steam chest for the valve rod is nowhere near the size of the valve rod, it's much bigger. Thankfully, the 3 steam-grade silicone O-rings that are fitted into the gland are supporting the valve rod quite well. Watch the valve while I rotate the engine. Do you see it lift at the end? I need to remove the valve chest entirely because something needs to be done about this. I thought this end movement may have been the problem, so I refitted the valve chest and the airline and gave the engine another run. The valve hitting the end of the steam chest was not the problem, because the compressed air is still blowing to exhaust. And here am I thinking I was going to get away with it, just a quick adjustment of the valve and the engine runs perfectly. But that is not so. Approximately 50% of the compressed air entering the engine leaves the engine without doing any work. Never mind, at least I can bed in the parts that I've worked on, and when I rotate the engine now by hand it feels a lot freer. I'll try running the engine on low air pressure. At this lower speed, you can hear just how much air is blowing to exhaust. Time to check the valve timing. Ideally, the slide valve should uncover the ports at each end of the stroke, just before top dead centre, or at the worst, on top dead centre. I managed another turn of the fitting at the end of the eccentric rod. And here, after refitting it and retightening the bolt. Now the valve timing is going to be about as good as it gets. In between all the wheezing from the exhaust port, you can hear that the beats are quite regular. But I'm just stalling the inevitable. The steam chest has to come off. And this was very tight. I used a sequence of levers to remove the steam chest, the final lever being the end of a hammer. Note to self, drill out these mounting holes before reassembly. Here's the valve and the port face. Spot the deliberate mistake. The valve is not in the centre of the ports. Why is this? I really don't know, but that is a situation that I have to work with. It looks to me like these 3 holes are not drilled in the right place relative to the port face itself. The 2 studs are okay, but look where the hole positions are relative to the 2 studs. Is this why the engine is blowing? No. I cleaned up the port face and it was in quite good condition, obviously because the engine hasn't run very much. Here, using a piece of 400 grade wet-to-dry sandpaper and some oil, I'm cleaning the face of the valve. And after that, using my proper cast iron surface plate and some more wet-to-dry sandpaper, which once again is 400 grade, I'm cleaning the top and bottom of the steam chest to make it flat. This took a good bit longer than I've just shown on the video, but I got there in the end. Time now to make a couple of gaskets. I've folded over a piece of gasket material, and now with the steam chest sat on top of the folded gasket material, I can use it as a guide to drill the holes in the gasket. Here's the gasket that I marked off from the steam chest. It's top tip time. Whenever you make a gasket that fits between the lower part of the steam chest onto the port face, always make sure that the hole in the inner part of the lower gasket is slightly larger than it needs to be. Here you can see a couple of pieces of the gasket that are chopped out. I also cut slivers of gasket material from each side, so this gasket does not foul the valve. I've fitted the bottom gasket and you can see the top gasket, which is pretty much like the bottom gasket because I always cut out the centre section where it's not supported. Surprisingly, the steam chest had to be tapped into position, even though I enlarged the mounting holes very slightly with a drill. And this wasn't helped by the fact I inverted the steam chest cover because the other side of it was a bit damaged. I cleaned up both sides of the steam chest cover on my belt sanders followed by wet or dry sandpaper, and now the steam chest cover does look a good bit better than it did. Time now for a festival of oiling. Every moving part gets an application of oil. I've already put some steam oil into the steam chest. That takes care of the cylinder, but this is not cylinder oil, it's standard lubricating oil from Hallett Oils. I connected the air line to the steam chest and opened the compressed air valve. The difference is astounding. The engine runs much smoother, much faster, more evenly, and it's quiet. When I lift it off my soundboard, it's not noisy at all. I'll sit it back down on the soundboard on top of a piece of Scotch-Brite. I wonder how slow it will run. By the way, you shouldn't do this. I'm cleaning the engine and the baseboard with a cloth while the engine is running. A very foolish idea. I don't know why I did it really. I like to live life on the edge. I'm going to leave the engine running to the end of this video. There's only one more thing that I need to do. I'm going to make another gasket that fits between the steam chest and the cylinder, because this one is a bit thin and the port face is slightly uneven. This engine does not have proper pins on the valve gear, it just uses 5BA bolts. But that's the least of my worries with this engine. It is what it is. I'm going to try running it fast. It really does run surprisingly well for what it is. I'm sure my friend James will be quite pleased with it. The next episode will just consist of the engine running, using compressed air followed by running it on steam. That's it for this one. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.